Hey, I'm Kat Merchant. For those of you who are new here, my channel's all about rugby, fitness and life. Today's session is going to be about fitness, more specifically is going to be about my own training split. So for a bit of context, I used to play rugby for many years, and as a result of the beautiful game, I am a little bit broken, shall we say. I've had 3 knee ops, so that limits what I could do lower body wise, so I don't do any impact, jumping, and I don't do running, but there's definitely still a lot of things I can do, but it's just working around that. I've also had elbow reconstruction, which means I cannot do loads and loads of volume, or it's going to just get really sore and niggly. And then shoulder, just ongoing, niggly, horrid rugby shoulder. So working around all those 3 things in a way where I can still make really good results. So how that looks is I focus on quality lifts without doing loads and loads of volume. And I'll explain the kind of ins and outs of that as we get into it. But to start with, I'm going to go through how my training week looks. So I train 4 times a week, sometimes 5, but mainly 4. And that will depend on how busy I am. My minimum is 4 and I lift in those 4 sessions. Cardio or aerobic work will be interspersed in it. Or if I've got more time that week and I'm feeling fresh, then I might do a 5th session, which would be purely aerobic. But minimum wise is lifting 4 times a week. Now, as I mentioned, I am working around a fair amount of niggles. So I don't do a traditional bro split, which a lot of people use for building muscle and building strength. For me, that wouldn't work because it's just going to be too much volume in one muscle group per session. So instead, what I do is I have 3 whole body sessions and I'll rotate them through. So I don't train on specific days, which means I can be a bit more flexible with my week. I do a lot of commentary work where I have to travel, things like that come up, and it makes it easier for me to work around having varied gym access. So of my 3 sessions, I'll do session 1, session 2, session 3, then I'll go back to session 1 if I'm doing the 4 sessions that week. The 5th one would be an optional cardio. Then I would start the following week with session 2, session 3, then back to 1, etc. Now, the content of those sessions is very much whole body. I am limited to what I can do leg-wise, so it's important that I don't do loads and loads of volumes on my legs because then I will feel it in my knee. So it's spreading it out across the week. What I will do is I'll have a bias on those sessions. So session 1 will have a chest bias. So I'm going to work on that and the strength component of it, and that will be my real quality heavy lifting. And then the other muscle groups might be more high volume, looking at supersets, bringing that in. My 2nd session, the bias would be back. So looking at back and biceps, making sure that those are the main components of the session. But again, there will be accessory lifts around it with other muscle groups. And then finally, looking at session 3, which is going to be shoulders. So looking at making that my main strength lift and then other muscle groups around it. So I find by working in this way, I can get real quality lifts in without overdoing the volume side of things. So I avoid those sore joints, especially those ones that are injured, and I don't get really bad DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, which can actually put people off doing further sessions. So balancing across the week, really, really important, especially if you are a broken rugby player. So because I don't have that high amount of volume, I make sure that the lifting that I do is really quality, and I make sure I'm using something called progressive overload. So each week I'm going to be pushing that little bit more, whether it's an extra rep or whether I'm increasing the weight and trying to get the reps back up to where I was with the lighter weight. By doing this type of training, it allows me as well to focus on real quality. So for example, if I have pull-ups in one session, it's not going to be on a session where I've also done lat pull down or rows or anything like that. So I can really use it as quality strength rather than overloading that muscle group. Another benefit of training this way for me is that you don't have that one session which you dread, which you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, leg day, and they absolutely dread it, or other muscle groups that you might hate because it is split evenly across the week. And then aerobic work, so the cardio side of things, what I'll do is I'll intersperse that within my session. So at the end of a quality lifting session, it might be that I do a 10-minute aerobic circuit with exercises that complement the ones I've done. So if it was in the chest biased session, then I wouldn't be doing loads of press ups or anything within that circuit. I'd be doing exercises more towards the back or the other muscle groups within that. And then the 5th session, as I mentioned, if I have time in the week, if I'm feeling really recovered and I'm feeling good, I might go to the gym for one extra bonus session, which will be all aerobic. So this is going to be at a lighter intensity, but going to get 30 minutes, quality, just movement out, just get a sweat on and feel good. So that's how I train. If you have any questions about it, then drop them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon.